and welcome to my review of the LEGO Star Wars Advent Calendar for 2025. This set will release on September the 1st of 2025 at an original retail price of $44.99 USD. It is given set number 75418, is rated for ages 6 and up, and has 263 pieces, which gives this an original price per piece of 17 cents. In case you're trying to track this set down in stores, here's a look at the barcode. Taking a look at the back of the box, it kind of shows you how the Advent calendars work. You open a little flap and there's instructions inside. Opening up your box is quite an easy experience. There are simply 2 pieces of tape holding it closed. Cutting both of those pieces of tape will allow you to access the primary panel, which is where they want you to build everything. Now this panel is really well decorated. They have some Christmas themed rugs there that are also Star Wars themed, and it looks like a workshop. I just think this thing looks really nice. Here's a nice still shot for you. Now the way the Advent calendar works is that there are 24 separate days, meaning there are 24 containers containing 24 separate items. But as you can see, the days do not go in order. Opening up day number 1 is going to give you what some people are deeming the most desirable thing in this entire Advent calendar, Babu Frick. Now we'll do an in-depth look at him later, but I'm just going to let you know that he is just one solid piece. He is not a head and a body. Day number 2 is the last one I'm going to open for you here on camera. And that's because I don't want to spoil the entire Advent calendar, but this gives you a better idea how these things work. The flap itself contains the instructions, and this flap is actually removable. This is what I do for when I put these sets back in storage, and just makes it easier as a quick reference. For each day you get some pieces and a little instruction book, and everything is relatively easy to put together. Here is your first look at the final product. Now there is a lot here to love, and there's a lot here that I personally love, but this video is to help you, the viewer, decide, is this set worth the $45 US? And I think the best place to help answer that question is to start with the minifigures. Our first minifigure is the legend Babu Frick. This is the first time we have ever seen this character in LEGO form, and I think they did a pretty good job at capturing his likeness, especially in this scale. Especially for his size, he has a lot of great printing detail all throughout his torso and face. Turning him to the side, you can get a slightly better look at his welding goggles on the top of his head, and then giving you a view from the back, there is absolutely no printing here. And here are some other small figures like Baby Yoda / Grogu and BD1 side by side. As you can see, Babu is ever so slightly smaller than Baby Yoda, who is ever so slightly smaller than BD1. In case some of you are curious, yes, Babu is in fact a dual molded piece. I apologize for the lighting in this picture. It was a really hard image to get, but as you can see, there is a little brown dot here indicating that there are separate pieces being pushed together. Our next minifigure is C-3PO. Now this figure is the exact same that we have seen in the more recent sets like Jabba's sail barge, the Yavin 4 Rebel base, and the Death Star trash compactor diorama. The only difference is that this figure has red eyes. This version of the figure has that glorious arm printing that we have seen on C-3PO recently, and I absolutely love it. And he does have some very nicely detailed back printing. Now the C-3PO on the left is the one from Jabba's sail barge, and the one on the right is the one from the Dark Falcon set. The torso and legs are the same as the one from the sail barge, but the head is the same as the one from the Dark Falcon with those red eyes. If you were curious what this figure would look like with the dual molded leg, here's a good look at it. Our next figure is R7A7, the Astromech droid. This figure has some phenomenal printing all around, but unfortunately has absolutely no back printing. In case you were at all curious, this figure is the exact same one that we saw in Ahsoka's Jedi Interceptor, released in January of 2025. Next figure is going to be a B2 Super Battle Droid. This is the most modern version of the Battle Droid that we saw reintroduced in 2024. Here it is side by side with a Super Battle Droid from the Clone Troopers vs. Battle Droid Battle Pack. A minifigure I was very excited for in this Advent calendar because I thought it would be BD1, but unfortunately no, this is BD72. Don't get me wrong, this is a phenomenal little figure. I just wish it was BD1 to help drive the price of that one down, because I'd like to get a second one for my Cal Kestis. The way you can tell the difference between these two figures is that BD72 has blue markings instead of red. This figure does have a stud on his back, so you could attach him to some things. This figure has appeared before in the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter released in 2022. And here he is side by side with BD1. As you can see, the difference here is just the blue versus red markings. Our next minifigure is what I'm going to assume is a snowman version of BB-8. He is absolutely adorable in his nice looking top hat. Taking off his hat gives you a better look at his head, where you can see that his photoreceptor and his hollow projector are both little pebbles. And I love the little markings all throughout his body that just look like snow that has been walked through. Now for me personally, I think the top hat sits a little too high up, so what I do is I take this little stud, put it on the stud on the top of his head, and put the top hat on. That just helps you be able to see his entire head. Here's a quick side-by-side comparison with the regular version of BB-8. Our next minifigure is a regular B1 battle droid. Now this guy looks like he took some damage, and they've replaced his curved arm with a dark stone gray color. They do give this droid a backpack, but his 1x2 plate is a dark tan color instead of matching his body. Our next figure is this buildable probe droid, and I don't like the proportions on this. I know it has to be a simple and quick build for an advent calendar, but he just looks surprisingly slim yet beefy at the same time. Giving you a 360 spin of this figure, you can see how simple he really is. They give him 3 of his standard eyes, as well as 4 droid arms. And he is supported by a clear pole and a dish on the bottom. Putting him next to the most recent Imperial probe droid from the Hoth ATST, you can see the absolute detail difference as well as size difference. It's definitely not fair to compare an advent calendar build next to a playscale build, but this is to give you an idea of what I mean by the proportions of this just feel kind of off. But for using as few pieces as they do, I think they captured the likeness quite well. Our next droid is one of the droids that has snuck its way into my heart with the most recent Andor series. This is B2 Emo, otherwise known as B or B2. I'm so glad they included B in this set. Yes, I wish we had gotten him a long time ago, but I'm just glad that they actually made him instead of never making him at all. I also think they did a phenomenal job when it came to capturing his look in Lego form. Is he a little bit large? Yes, but I still think it looks great. Now we can finally reunite Cassian Andor with B. We can also just pretend the end of Rogue One never happened and Cassian went back to go see B and Bix. Our next figure is a pit droid, looking absolutely adorable here. This guy looks absolutely solid for being an advent calendar build. They did give this figure some posability, like you can swivel its head side to side or 360 degrees around. The arms are also posable. You can move them forward, but you can't really move them backwards because the legs can sometimes get in the way. And this is true for both of the arms. The feet can also swivel back and forth, but sometimes they can come unclipped as they're not the most secure thing in the world, but it's not really a deal breaker here. Our next buildable droid is going to be this candy cane mouse droid. I think this thing looks absolutely adorable and I love the colors. And here he is side by side with the mouse droid from the UCS TIE Interceptor. And as you can tell, they are incredibly similar in a lot of different ways. They're just built differently in order to show off the colors. Our next figure is this Buzz droid, and I think they did a pretty good job at capturing the overall look of him. Got the red eyes in the center, got the sticky little legs, and the 2 bulbs at the top. But they gave this thing a little stand to help keep it upright, because if you take it off, it can stand upright. It just is a little bit difficult in order to sit just right. But you can use the little legs in order to help support it. And here's a little 360 spin of this little Buzz droid for you. It is incredibly simple to build, but that's what you should expect from an advent calendar. Our next droid is going to be this medical droid. I think it looks pretty good. It's got definitely the right shaping going on here, and it's got 4 arms that are semi-posable and a little light at the very top. Our next droid is a bit of an obscure one. This is called a Treadwell repair droid. These are seen in the background of A New Hope. And I don't know about you, but this one reminds me a lot of LEGO Star Wars The Completed Saga. When I was putting this thing together, all I could think about is the level where you're Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker invading the Sandcrawler to rescue C-3PO and R2-D2. This thing does have some posability. The arm rack can actually move up and down, while the arms are individually posable to a very minor degree. Our next droid is what I can only assume is a gonk droid that has been absolutely decked out with accessories. On the one side you have a little black spoon, and on the other you have a nice push broom. Overall, this gonk droid has a really nice design to it with a bunch of different color usage that I quite enjoy, like the pearl silver for the feet. Our next minifigure is the ugly sweater / Christmas sweater Jawa, and I love his sweater. You've got the nice gonk droid in the center with the 2 BD1 units on the side. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I don't know who designs these minifigures at LEGO, but they also need to turn these sweaters into actual sweaters we can buy. Taking a look at the back of the figure, you can see more printing there with a nice R2 unit in the center and 2 BB units on the side. Again, I don't know who makes the decisions when it comes to apparel at LEGO, but if you're listening, you need to turn these sweaters into sweaters that people can wear in real life. This set includes one last figure, but he's scattered throughout the build. You have the head in one spot, you have the leg and torso in another, and then lastly you have the 2 arms and a barrel. This set gives you all the pieces you need in order to build yourself another B1 battle droid out of scrap. Overall, he looks pretty fantastic and very festive. And I love the use of the pearl gold legs. Again, I'm a sucker for pearl gold. Now our first build is going to be Babu Frick's workshop. And this is part 1 of many. Now this one in particular has a nice printed control panel here, as well as a yellow coffee cup on the side for when Babu gets thirsty. And then lastly, flipping it over, you have this little thing here, and this is meant to be where you attach Babu Frick. And he attaches relatively easily, and he looks pretty good inside of his little workshop, although I don't know why he's looking at the ground. Our next segment here is going to be an accessories rack, and it comes with a little hammer, a crowbar, a wrench, and a telescope. Flipping over to look at the back, there's absolutely nothing going on. Our next compartment here looks like it contains a clanker head, as well as some energy cores here, and on the very bottom it looks like we have some spray paint cans for a bunch of different colors. Once again, showing you the rear side of this build here, there's absolutely nothing going on. Our next little segment here has a nice pearl silver shovel attached to the front of it, and a little barrel containing 2 droid arms. And you probably saw that all of these have some hinge bricks on them, meaning you can attach all of these 4 segments together in order to create one larger workshop. And now the icon, the legend, the diva, Babu Frick can actually work on some droids in peace. And honestly, I think it's really cool that an advent calendar gives you a bunch of little builds to put together in order to create a much larger build. I think that's a cool little feature. Our next little side build is going to be this droid carrier. Now this droid carrier can spin 360 degrees around and can actually lift up and down in order to pick up droids. And attaching a droid is very easy. You find a stud and you place this little piece on the top and it can lift a droid up. Our next little build is this little cart here. Now they've given it some studs to mimic the look of wheels, and it seems to work alright. And yes, it is just large enough in order to accommodate your Jawa minifigure. Now on the back you may notice some studs. This is so you can attach the droid carrier to the back of the truck. This makes the droid carrier function so much more effective, as you can free spin the droid 180 degrees and lift much further up and down. And basically all of the droids in this entire set have a stud on the top of their head, so you can attach pretty much any of them. And overall, I think this is just a fun little feature to have in this calendar. Our next build, if you can call it that, is just this little crate containing a bunch of different droid parts, like the legs and the torso used to create that B1, as well as the leg to an astromech droid. Next up is going to be this chair here. Now this is supposed to be the chair from episode 9 where Babu Frick erases C-3PO's memory so he can read what's on the Sith dagger. And this does sit C-3PO just fine. And the back support of the chair is just wide enough to actually sit Babu Frick on it, like he's working on C-3PO. And our last item is this little Christmas tree here. I think it's nice and cute, but very, very small, but this one actually comes in the same package as the BB-8 snowman. So overall, what are my thoughts on this set, and is it worth the $45? Advent calendars are usually a hard thing for me to tell if they're worth the $45 because you get a bunch of fun little builds and some really nice figures. But they're also all about the experience of opening one thing a day until you get to the final day. And if you're doing it that way, I'd say yeah, it's worth the $45. But I always recommend waiting for this thing to go on sale because these things do all of the time. But genuinely, I really do like this set. I think the figures and the buildable figures in it are very nice. I especially like the Jawa, Babu Frick, the BD unit, as well as the BB unit. It's hard for me to come up with complaints about this set, but I have 2 things to point out. It should have been BD1 in this set in order to give people affordable access to that figure, and the battle droids should have come with blasters. But otherwise, this is a 9 out of 10 set to me. But that is all I have to say on this set. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found this video helpful for your purchasing decisions. If you did enjoy or found it helpful, please let me know by leaving a like. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Consider hitting that subscribe button, as it is a great and free way to support the channel, and then join the community Discord, which is linked in the description below. But until next time, stay bricked up and enjoy what you love.